Welcome to today's episode. In Mexico City, the axolotl has become more popular than ever. Nowadays, it is painted on walls, used in campaigns, and also it is in our money. But behind this growing popularity, there is a rough reality. The axolotl is going extinct. So, here's the critical question. Are we helping the axolotl survive or just turning it into a marketing image? But first, let's give a little context. The axolotl is not just any animal. It is an endemic species, meaning it only exists naturally in one place, the Canos of Xochimilco. Today, it is critically endangered. However, at the same time that its population is declining, its image is everywhere. This creates a contradiction. The symbol is thriving, but the species is not.
Let's focus on the real problem. The axolotl is disappearing mainly due to three factors. First, water pollution. The canals where it lives are contaminated by waste and urban waste. Second, habitat loss. Urban expansion has reduced and fragmented its natural environment. Third, invasive species like tilapia, which compete with or prey on axolotls. These are complex environmental issues that require long-term solutions, not just visibility. Campaigns and public art can raise awareness, but this also has limits. When the focus is only on the image of the axolotl, making it colorful, attractive, and symbolic, there is a risk, there is a risk of simplifying the problem. People may recognize the animal without understanding its situation, making it worse. This marketing creates the illusion that something is being done, when in reality, the environmental crisis continues. This leads to a dangerous disconnection. Citizens see axolotls everywhere in the city, yet in nature, they are harder to find. The more the image spreads without real action, the more society becomes detached from the urgency of the problem.
So, what will be a realistic solution? First, restoring the habitat. This means cleaning the canals of Xochimilco and improving water quality. Second, controlling invasive species to protect the axolotl's ecosystem. As we said, the tilapias are putting the axolotls in danger. Third, supporting local conservation projects and researchers who are already working to preserve the species. For example, you can participate directly in preservation by funding research and maintenance of UNAM colonies through its official platform, RAECO. The painting of the city itself is not the problem. In fact, it can be part of the solution if it's used correctly. Instead of just promoting the image of the axolotl, this could explain its endangered status, show real data, and encourage environmental responsibility. In other words, the goal should not just be visibility, but impact.
The problem of the axolotl reflects a much wider issue in the environmental conservation around the world. Many species become powerful cultural symbols. Their image appear in advertisements, social media campaigns, school projects, souvenirs, and public art. People recognize them and often say they care about them. However, the simple fact of being a symbol doesn't guarantee the protection. In many cases, society celebrates an animal while ignoring the problems that threaten its survival. We admire its image, but we fail to protect the rivers, forests, lakes, or wetlands that it depends on. Conservation requires more than appreciation. It requires action, commitment, and long-term responsibility. The axolotl is a clear example of this contradiction. Throughout the Mexico City, its image can be found almost everywhere. It appears on murals, clothing, toys, educational items, and even international marketing campaigns. It has become one of the most recognizable symbols of Mexican biodiversity. Yet, despite this popularity, The real axolotl continues to face serious challenges in its natural habitat. The canals of Xochimilco, where the axolotl had lived for centuries, are increasingly affected by pollution, urban expansion, and invasive species. Water quality has declined, natural vegetation has been reduced, and introduced fish compete with or prey on axolotls. These environmental pressures make survival more difficult every year. Scientists, conservation organizations, local communities, and government institutions have worked to address these problems. Restoration projects, environmental education programs, and breeding initiatives have all contributed to raising awareness and protecting the remaining population. However, these efforts require continued support and participation from society as a whole. The story of the axolotls reminds us that conservation is not only about saving one single species, it's about protecting the entire ecosystem. When a habitat is healthy, many forms of life can thrive together. The consequences affect not only wildlife but also the people who depend on those environments. Environmental awareness is an important first step, but awareness alone is just not enough. Real change happens when people support conservation efforts, reduce pollution, make informed decisions, and encourage sustainable practices in their community. Small actions may seem insignificant, but together they can contribute to meaningful progress. The challenge is to connect what we see and what we do. It's not enough to admire the axolotl as a symbol in Mexico City. We must also recognize the responsibility that comes with that admiration. Protecting the species means protecting the whole environment that sustains that species. If the axolotl disappears from its natural habitat, no amount of murals, photographs, merchandise, or social media campaigns will bring back what has been lost. Future generations deserve the opportunity not only to see the image of the axolotl, but also the living animals thriving in the waters of Xochimilco. The future of the axolotl depends on the choices that are made today. Its survival will be determined not only how often it is celebrated, but by how effectively the habitat is protected. Thank you for listening. Let this be a reminder that environmental awareness must go beyond images and symbols. It must inspire action, responsibility, and lasting commitment. The story of the axolotls is not only about one species, it is a reflection of our relationship with the nature and the decision we make about the world we share. Every effort to protect an ecosystem, reduce environmental damage, and support conservation contributes to a healthier future by valuing nature not only as something to admire, but also as something to protect. We can ensure that the unique species like the axolotl continues to exist for generations to come. Thank you for joining us, and remember, real conservation begins when the awareness becomes an action.